All right, I'm here with Stuart Faught, a serial builder who's had a total of 18 acquisitions on acquire.com. Stuart, how you doing today?
I'm good, Andrew. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, I'm super excited for this one because I do believe you own the record for most acquisitions on Acquire. I haven't met anybody with as many as you. Before we dive into that, do you want to just give a brief introduction of yourself for people that may not know you?
Sure. So, yeah, from Southern California. First job out of college was, working for the man. I worked at a dental software company called Dentrix. And I don't know if you've ever seen. You remember that old movie, Office Space?
Yeah.
You ever see that one? So it was like a total Office Space situation. Hated the corporate gig and always knew I wanted to do something entrepreneurial. This is like back in the day, 2009 or so, back when SEO was a new thing, and started looking around for opportunities for a way to get out of that corporate job, and heard about SEO again back when that kind of was a newer thing, and decided to launch my own little SEO business. And since I was selling software to dental practices, naturally started targeting them. And then from that experience, I thought, wow, this is great. But really from that experience, learned about reputation and thought like, man, these guys just need a simple way to get a review from a patient. And so ever since then, I've been building and kind of selling reputation companies and in the space. And yeah, man, just love selling software companies.
Right on. Well, since you've had 18 acquisitions, I don't think we're going to be able to go through every single one of them.
Yeah.
But do you want to just talk about maybe three or four of the companies? We can start there and see where it takes us.
Sure. So, companies I've sold on Acquire or
Yeah, like acquisitions that you've been a part of.
yeah. So let's see. So I started following you back, I think when you worked, when you started to build that company Spiff. That's when I connected with you on LinkedIn and started kind of following your journey. And before this, I had, built a reputation company, just bootstrapped the business, for a handful of years and, signed on a couple of thousand users and ended up selling that previous company. And then I started following you on LinkedIn and I thought to myself, like, I didn't know there was really a market for, these small little software companies. And I thought to myself, man, that's kind of what I know how to do. And so I was like, I wonder if I can build and sell on Acquire. And so I went out kind of using my same playbook, went and acquired about 100K in ARR and then listed it on Acquire. And I think within like maybe 30 to 45 days, sold that business for 500K. And, it was a nice transaction and then kind of just continued the process.
Nice. So you have a playbook that you run. Are you open to talking about that a little bit?
Yeah, totally. I'm a big, I think every growth guy has their favorite channel. Back in the day for me, it's kind of funny to look back, but what worked really well for me was, I would just in person sell. So again, I was with my first company, I was selling to dental practices and kind of created a method to just go into offices every single day and had a thing where, I would basically hit up 15 offices, talk with 5 decision makers, and I would go home with a contract and kind of the 15-5-1. I'd do that every single day and did that for a handful of years and it was great. But then kind of got, burnt out on that and got a little bit smarter and started leveraging partnerships. And so big partnership guy. In a nutshell, basically, I'll pick a vertical, find a couple hundred names of people within that space, and then have a playbook to kind of reach out to them. And, I position my SaaS products as being kind of the tool on their, consultant tool belt. So I love working with consultants and, basically acquiring customers through them.
Nice. So to kind of summarize this, you build niche products and then you'll look at a specific vertical, whether it's like dentists or doctors or lawn professionals, businesses like that.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a big believer in vertical SaaS. So I've just learned from experience that if I'm selling a software product and I position it for everyone, it's harder to get traction. If I position it for a certain vertical, a lot easier to get traction, more specifically from partners within the space. And so I like to build simple software that is already out there, but maybe hasn't been verticalized, and then pick a niche, ideally one that's, really narrow, and then try to be the that type of SaaS product in that space.
Nice. Tell me more about the niches. I know a few of them, but what's like maybe 5 or 6 of them?
Yeah. So like, for example, I mean, dentistry is one that I'm super familiar with. That's probably been my main one. But even within dentistry, you have like oral surgeons, you have orthodontists, the dental specialists, and then, home care services is a big one. But then specifically, like if you go after just HVAC guys and you build your product specific to them and their workflows. Another one would be med spas. I've had, a lot of success working with different med spas, and I like that space because it's growing and expanding. But yeah, really all kinds of verticals. And I just love positioning my products to talk to them, and it's just easier to get early stage traction.
100%. I love this. How many different products have you built? Are they all the same? I know
Um,
a few of them around reputation. Do you expand into other types of products?
Yeah, so really just local business growth tools. So like another one, Andrew, is little text chat features that we put on, our customer's website. So instead of, someone chatting, just online, basically the customer leaves a message and then the business can respond, at a later time, but via text. And they can kind of go back and forth. That's one. But yeah, really just kind of local business, marketing SaaS tools is kind of what I've always done.
Nice. I love that. And it's such a massive market too. When we talk about SMBs, like my
Yeah,
first company, I college sold to SMBs, and you have so many verticals. You have restaurants, you have, salons, you have gyms, you have,
totally.
fitness consultant. Like I could just keep going on and on. How many of
Yeah.
these businesses have you grown to say above like 50,000 revenue or 100,000?
So above 100,000, probably out of the 18 that I've sold, probably about half of them.
Dang.
Yeah, I really kind of consider my fun zone is like I'm the 0 to 1 million ARR guy. Lots of people don't like that, that space and that niche, but I love it. I love to build something new and start fresh and kind of crack out the first handful of customers. I just kind of figured it out and enjoy doing it.
Nice. And this is all direct sales, correct? So you're, to summarize again, you're picking a product that all small businesses need to get new
Mhm.
customers, fuel marketing. Then you're picking a very specific vertical like HVAC, or instead of just dentistry, you're going after oral surgeons. And then you're
Yeah.
basically knocking on doors, right?
Yeah. So I'm basically reaching out to consultants. So say like med spas. So one thing I didn't know back in the day was almost every industry has like full-time consultants, full-time businesses that all they do is consult that type of space. And
Oh,
so
I get it.
I
Like
like to
resellers in a way.
so really more like, like if you owned a med spa, if you're starting a med spa, you can go hire someone that's a professional consultant and they've got experience in the space, and they'll charge you and tell you exactly what you need to do to grow. And
Got
so
it.
I look for those types of people and try to leverage their, distribution basically to get customers. And I always have a sales webinar that I can just, basically give them and they text it to their clients.
Ah, that's so smart. So you're selling to people that already have the relationship. And then if you win their business over, they have, say, 20 clients. Let's say they're all med spas.
Mhm.
And so that you can grow really quick.
Exactly. So I create a list of 200 people. I reach out to them, get them on an intro call and see if they're working with someone, like us. And, 99% of the time they're not. And then again, we put, basically, qualify them, make sure they're full time, make sure they've got a good email list, and then leverage a sales webinar to convert customers. Yep.
I love this. I love how it's so sales focused, where, you're executing on your ability to meet with these people and have an offer and a product that makes sense.
Yeah.
If someone else was going to roll out this playbook, where do you think they could get tripped up? What's like a common issue you run into?
Yeah. So if you're looking to build like a partner program, I think like the biggest thing is, you might be able to schedule an intro call, have a great conversation. Yeah, your clients have a need, we have the solution, and then there's no follow-up. And so I like to automate the follow-up and make sure, I'm always keeping in touch, always, nurturing and building those relationships so that they actually, give us referrals and we grow through it. But I think it's just as simple as follow up.
Nice. What tools do you use for follow ups? Do you like HubSpot or Outreach or something like that?
So honestly, for me, I just like to keep it really simple. I just plug it into my phone. So I plug it into my phone. I have a cadence where every day I reach out to 20 either potential partners that I'm working with or current partners that I'm working with or potential partners that I would like to work with. And depending on what stage I'm at, it's like I'm either sending a text, I'm sending an email, we have a call scheduled, or I'm shooting them a DoorDash or some type of gifting type thing, and that's personally how I do it, and I just plug everything into Trello.
Nice. Simple works.
Yeah.
Okay. If you had to pick a product and a vertical to go after next, maybe a founder's listening to this and like, this is a great idea. I think I could do this. What direction would you point them? Would it be a reputation management platform for gyms? Like, what do you think it'd be?
Yeah. I mean, just because I know the space so well, I like the reputation space. So I would go with that. I would just have like a simple tool that works. And yeah, I would niche down to a vertical. And I always say the reputation tool is a great, foot in the door. So the idea is, okay, you're a reputation company for gyms. But then once you get your foot in the door, you start working with gyms, then hopefully you can find out different tools and features that haven't been created yet, that you can add on top of the reputation tool. So that's kind of how I would think about that.
Yeah, so land and expand. I like that.
Land and expand. Yep, exactly, man.
Right on. Well, when you're building these, I assume you have a clear reason to sell. You like to build rather than scaling the businesses. But walk me through that thought process. Do you have like a goal that you want to hit? Like I'm going to sell this exactly when I hit 100,000, or do you sell when you're kind of tired of the clientele, or it's just a good time to cash in the chips?
Yeah, yeah. I like building to about 50K in ARR. So about 50K in ARR. So and I like to specifically focus on a buyer. So I think that when you're selling a company, you should, just like if you were selling a product, focus on, a certain type of buyer. So for me, that's usually a first time founder. The reason why is like I've learned all these little things just through the years of trial and error and investing in programs and all the good stuff. And I always think to myself, man, if I knew someone like me 10, 12, 13 years ago, it would have been so much easier. And so I think the value that I can deliver for a buyer is the best for a first time founder. And so with a lot of my deals, one thing that I include is just like hands-on training and support through an extended period of time. But yeah, I usually like to around 50K ARR, and I shoot for a decent multiple, one that's fair, one that will sell quickly, but make it worth it on my end.
Nice. Walk me through the acquisition process from your lens. You get the businesses to a certain revenue mark. What's your expectations to go through a sale? Do you do a lot of prep work up front? Do you record walkthrough videos, or do you tailor it to the buyer?
Yeah, so you're talking about once I have a business that I'm looking to sell, like what's that process like?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, basically I get, I get the business to the amount that I'd like to get it. Again, around 50K ARR, we'll say. And then, I go to acquire and list it. And it's interesting, and props to you, Andrew, because every time I list a business, it's always easier. And there's a couple of new little things that I, have found that just makes it really easy and simple to get listed. And that's pretty much it, man. So I just list it. And then usually, people will start to inquire. And I just try to be quick to respond and make things really simple for me and the buyer to get on a call and see if it's a good fit. And then if it makes sense, I try to come up with a creative solution to close the deal quickly and easily.
Nice. So since you've sold 18 businesses, how many buyer calls have you done? Have you done like 1,000?
That's a good question, man. I don't know. So yeah, usually it'll take me between 30 and 45 days from listing to closing. And then usually for each acquisition, I'll probably jump on, 20 to 30 calls. Sometimes I'll whittle that down a little bit just by, giving the buyers access to a Trello board with all the information that they might need and kind of demo videos and all that good stuff. But yeah, usually it's a 30 to 45 day process. I'm chatting with 20 to 30 buyers and then usually walk away with with a buyer that closes.
Nice. What are some red flags that you've seen from buyers, or what are some things that a buyer could do that tells you that they're not interested? And then what are some things a buyer will do that shows you they're really interested and you should focus on it?
Yeah. So buyers that aren't interested. So I always think about what a nightmare it'd be to do a deal with a bad person, or, all the heartburn that would come. So if anyone is rude or just like a jerk, or it's like they think they're, super different or something, I usually will just not really, follow up on those types of buyers. If someone's cool and normal, then, I'm attracted to those buyers. I try to pursue those deals and try to be the most flexible with just cool people. So I think a lot of buyers really underestimate, like, you really should be cool to these sellers, because there's lots of people looking at these deals and, at the end of the day, it usually comes down to whoever is the coolest and easiest to work with.
Yeah, there's a good quote. I always like to say, you can't do a good deal with a bad person. It's a good old
Yeah.
Warren Buffett quote.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I just try to work with people that are easy to work with.
Nice. How important is the transition period that you offer? Do you tailor it to each buyer? Do you say, hey, if you buy this business, I'm going to be here to make you successful. I'm going to provide training for 3 months. Would you say that's like part of the deal and it's really important? Like, I guess if a founder is listening to this and they don't provide transition support, do you think that hurts their deals? Does it help you?
I think so. I think it definitely helps me, especially with those, kind of first time founder buyers, guys that are, you know, lots of tech executives that are disenchanted with the corporate world. They're looking to acquire their first business, and I think they value training a lot. And so one thing that I do, and yeah, I do think that it's helped me win some deals, is I'll get off my butt, jump on a plane, and go do a 2 or 3 day training with the buyer, and kind of get face to face with them and go over every part of the business A to Z. And so they're make them feel really comfortable, and then usually it's a 3 to 6 month kind of period, depending on their needs. But yeah, definitely that's a big part of it.
Nice. What do you think? Or let me phrase the question this way. If a founder was looking to sell, what are some tips that you would give them to be successful? Like, I think that's awesome. You fly to meet people, shake hands, and do in-person training. You mentioned a Trello board with, I assume, some due diligence items. Like, if you had to give like 3 main points that every deal needs, what do you think they'd be?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, your website um, should should be solid. Your website should be solid. You should also invest a little bit in just creating a really good deck. I think you guys have tools for doing that, but that's one thing I've always had my design team that I work with. Try to create things that look really good and presentable. And then yeah, just having all the information ready. I like to organize it in a Trello board, and for all buyers that are pretty interested, I'll give them access, and that makes the process way easier for sure to get the ball rolling.
Nice. What's in the Trello board? Financials, other metrics, operation docs, stuff like that?
Yep, operation docs. I like to put all of the design assets, in the board. Once I've created an asset transfer board as well for Trello, and that's one thing that buyers have told me they like a lot. So I'll just kind of put every process, every system, every vendor, everything in that Trello board, so that when we close, I can transfer everything over smoothly, and they can have immediate access that way.
Oh, wow. And then you plan out the asset transfer too. So everything's just easily viewable. The buyer knows exactly what's moving over. Do you include like a
Yeah.
step by step on how to use each asset that's being transferred over?
Yeah. So for every design asset, I have everything explained for the software. Usually there's steps on how to create an account, all that good stuff. Every vendor, yeah, everything is just listed in that Trello board, and just makes it really easy for me to deliver it and for the buyer to receive it and feel good about the transaction.
Nice. What do you think some big mistakes other founders make when they're trying to sell their business? A first time founder?
Yeah, I think not being responsive. I've heard it's not being responsive. I think not being organized. I think being unrealistic about the current market, I think, is one. I remember when I first started selling companies, I didn't really have I didn't really know how to value the business, and so I think just being realistic about your asking price and all those good things. I also think that buyers need to, or sellers need to be, creative and a little bit flexible if they want to sell their company.
Completely agree. What do deal structures typically look like with you? Are they mainly all cash? Are they some seller financed? What does that look like?
Yeah, I've kind of experimented with all types. I at the end of the day, I of course I love all cash, but I do want to be flexible, and so usually for me it's a little bit down, and then maybe the rest over like a 90-day period is kind of the sweet spot.
Nice. How much does being flexible help close a deal in your experience?
I think that's probably like 90%, with most of these transactions. Just being flexible, and yeah, breaking the payment up, or whatever the case may be. It's a big deal.
Nice. Well, Stuart, this is absolutely legendary. 18 transactions. That's crazy. There's some great advice in this podcast. What are you
Thanks, man.
building next? What's new for you?
So Let's see. I'm starting my new venture. It's called Covington. It's a vertical SaaS for dental specialists, and I'm a big believer in lean startup, lean principles, and so I'm just right now talking with a bunch of potential users and gathering all that good feedback and all that stuff. But yeah, really excited about this one, and yeah, hoping this is kind of going to be my next big one.
Right on. Well, I'm sure you'll be at 1 million in annual recurring revenue probably pretty soon here. So congrats again on all the acquisitions. Just thanks for coming on the podcast. If people want to learn more about your story and follow you online, where can they find you?
Yeah, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Just Stuart Faught on LinkedIn, and yeah, happy to chat with anyone, whether they're a buyer or seller. And I love meeting with entrepreneurs, and so yeah, would welcome that.
Right on. Stuart, congrats again.
Thanks, Andrew. Appreciate you, man.